John, it's amazing today we have not gotten our licenses revoked. We're not behind bars because what you're on, the KTM 1290 Superduke R, and what's beside me here, the EBR 1190 SX, are complete, just utter hooligan bikes that are meant to get you arrested. Isn't that right?
That's probably right, but don't even say it yet because we still have to get home. We still got to get down the bottom of the mountain. But yeah, we were on FZ07s and things last week that made like half the horsepower and maybe like less than half the horsepower, but these are beasts.
These are beasts, and I think, you know, last time we rode those FZ07 middleweight bikes, we said those are one of our favorite categories of bikes.
That was last week.
That was last week. This week, though, it's all new game. These are fantastic motorcycles, and the reason why we're here in the first place is because of the EBR. The 1190 SX, what EBR calls the Superfighter, whatever you want to, you know, take that to mean.
Superfighter.
We've taken that Superfighter, which is right here, taken it to our king of the Streetfighter category, our motorcycle.com bike of the year, the KTM. And pretty much we've assembled a heavyweight matchup between the KTM and EBR. Some stats for you. The EBR's got an 1190cc V-twin. Used to be a Rotax engine, but don't call it that now because it's completely built in-house. It's now 1190cc, like I said earlier. Totally redesigned, reimagined by Buell and his staff. This entire bike is assembled and or built in Wisconsin. Just all Americana. Then right here with the KTM, the 1300cc beast of a V-twin. It's just utter raw power. We dynoed both of these bikes. The EBR actually makes more power. 155-ish, I think we've got on the dyno at the tire for the EBR, 4 less on the KTM. The EBR makes more power than the KTM, but it's at the very top of the rev range, and the KTM doesn't rev as high as the EBR, and so that's where the EBR gets an advantage. You gotta rev it way up high. Everywhere else though, you look at the dyno chart, KTM just has massive more power than the EBR does. It's got a bigger engine, more than 100 more cc, so you expect that to happen.
It's a huge torque. It's got the torque band. The KTM is kind of like 10 or, I can't remember, but it's quite a bit more throughout out the mid-range.
Oh yeah.
So it's torque, and it's a good thing it's got traction control. Both these bikes have traction control. Because with the big handlebars, these tight little corners, you just kind of come out of them and hit the gas and can feel the wheel. The tires starting to get a little old on the KTM. We had it at Chuckwalla a couple months ago, and you can feel it start to spin, but then the traction control catches it, so you just whoop out of the corners. It's a blast. It's a ton of fun. It's probably wasteful of rubber and tarmac and everything else, but it's a lot of fun. Kind of that's how this bike makes you feel, and that one too.
Well, this one does too, which is cool to say. I mean, it's got a really steep rake on the EBR. It's like 22 degrees. The KTM is about 24 degrees, which is no laughing matter either. They're both really aggressive bikes. And I think we noticed, you know, the EBR's got show-up big piston fork. KTM has WP suspension. Both of them are completely fast, agile motorcycles. But the more we ride them, I think the more we discovered, you know, the EBR likes to flick very easily, and it turns in very well.
They're two completely different personalities, for being so similar.
And the KTM kind of finishes the corner better than the EBR does, right?
Yeah. But I think we did the right thing. We called the Superduke our motorcycle of the year, because this thing's like a magic carpet. It's like, I used to have dreams I could fly, and on these roads, it's just what it kind of feels like. You don't have to think much. You just kind of, and the bike just does everything for you. The brakes are fantastic. It's got awesome power. And the other part of it, when you ride it on the freeway to get home, it's like that first little bit of suspension travel is just kind of plush, but then it's perfectly well controlled when you're being aggressive too.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about the intended environments for both of these bikes, you know, we've got twisty roads here that we've been riding on, and both of these bikes handle the twisty roads. Great, fantastic. But then you want to go home. And that's when the slog on the freeway comes along. And like you said, John, the KTM, the pegs are lower, you feel more comfortable, the bar's a little bit more upright, you know, it's a little bit
like
more a neutral feeling. This EBR is really the RX sport bike sans fairing in a handlebar. So the pegs are up high, your knees are kind of scrunched, it's a much tighter, compact feeling. When I'm sitting on the EBR, sometimes I don't even remember, like, the front tire isn't even there. You're kind of looking out into space, whereas the KTM, it's more substantial. You know the bike is there.
Yeah. When we put them on the scales, we learned that EBR is about 20 pounds less than the KTM too.
Yeah, about
and you can kind of feel it when you start trying to push in the corners. It turns in a little quicker. It's a quicker reacting bike, it seems like, for guys who want to be more aggressive. I think if I had more talent than I have, if I was Steve Rapp out here with us, I could probably push harder on that one maybe, because it's a little stiffer. Suspension's a little stiffer. It feels like the whole thing's a little more compact. But the Duke, for me, with my talent or lack of it, will hang right with it just because of the torque.
Yeah, you know, you have either bike can go pretty damn fast in these twisty roads.
It felt like we were going pretty fast.
But the KTM can do it easier.
Yeah, it's easier.
All because you can just have to do this with your right wrist and just twist it and go.
Yeah, there were lots of those corners. I'd like have your choice of second or third gear in here, and it feel like either one would be about the same, although it'll pick the wheel up in second.
But yeah, I mean, as a first effort, this EBR is a really cool bike. It looks great.
I like the look of the whole thing. I like all its looks. It's got a couple of loose ends, but stuff you'll fix up.
Yeah, it's a huge, you know, Buell trademark is that front perimeter brake, the fuel in the frame. But we learned, doing our testing, that the M50 Brembo calipers on the KTM are just a cut above. They're just fantastic brakes. And the EBR is not bad, but it's just not quite there on the stopping department.
I think part of the reason why the brakes feel so great is because the suspension's so good too. It's like when you first everything's so integrated. It's like you squeeze the brakes and you get a little bit of compression, just the amount you want, and everything's perfectly integrated. It's just like, this is the nicest motorcycle I've ever ridden in like 25 years of doing this.
Oh yeah, I mean the KTM is polished, it's refined.
It's super polished.
Yeah, and then I was referring to the EBR as unapologetically unrefined.
Yeah, but that's good.
It's good. I mean, it's raw. That intake growl when you get on it is just so intoxicating. It feels good. It sounds good. There's a couple of vibrations when you get up to like 5 Gs, you know, on the engine speed. You know, there's some loose ends on the EBR here and there, but you know, it adds character. Right?
I think it adds character, and it's probably one of those bikes that you're going to buy if you have a couple other bikes in the garage already. You're a bucks up guy, because it's a $16,000-$17,000 bike, isn't it?
Yeah, they're about 17, and they're all, you know, they're all really, really close on price. The KTM has 3 TC settings because it has 3 power modes. EBR, no power modes, but 21 settings for TC. How do they work? Well, we have the EBR down to about 2 or 3 on the TC settings, and really for what we were doing today, with pretty much fresh tires, probably could have turned it off entirely and not even noticed that it was there. The KTM though, you know, a little bit shag tires. It sounds like you appreciated the TC there to save your butt when you needed it.
Yeah, you know, it's really fun because it makes you look forward to when your tire gets worn down, because you can be like Mick Doohan or something, you know, without really being Mick Doohan. It's pretty fantastic technology. Yeah, they are.
But Johnny, if I were to put you on the spot, which one would you pick?
I'd have to go with a Superduke, just because I would only have one bike in my garage, and I want to ride it all over the place. And the EBR, it's a little vibey, like 80 miles an hour. There's a little bit of vibration coming from that V-twin through the handlebar, and that's the only thing I would object to with it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, both these bikes are fantastic in twisted roads like this. Only one of these bikes is the bike that you want to live with day by day.
This one is a
magic
magic
on
carpet.
The street, on the freeway, and then get to the twisties and have an amazing time. The EBR, slightly unrefined, fueling down low is a little jerky at street speeds and around town.
Just a little.
Just a little, but I mean,
tiny bit.
It's for a first effort, it's a fantastic bike. So of course, you got to go to motorcycle.com, read the full review about both of these bikes. We got plenty more to say. We got a spec chart, scorecard, dyno charts, you name it. We got the entire gamut of information there on the site to let you know how both these bikes do. So for that, we're going to leave it there, and we'll see you next time.